Welcome, my friends, to this week's captivating episode of Motivational Moments with Maria. I'm your host, Crazy Coach Maria. Glad to be here. Honored that you're joining in. Honored that you join in every week to hear items on personal growth, personal development, your well-being. Every week, people always ask me, why do you do this? And I said, because it is my hope, it is my wish that we live joyfully, with more productivity, with more fulfillment and excitement for all areas of our lives. And if I can just instill a little bit of that to a few of you, a lot of you, man, I am one happy camper. So as you heard, I'm interviewing a lot of my colleagues because every one of my colleagues believes in personal development, personal growth, health, and well-being. And so this week, I'm really excited to introduce one of my colleagues. Her name is Dr. Annmarie Waite. And Dr. Annmarie is an amazing woman, of course, and you see, not only is she amazing, she's also beautiful, as you can see on the screen. And she is a certified health and life coach, certified through the Health Coach Institute. And on top of that, she is a nurse practitioner and a nursing professor. So a lot of education, a lot of skills, a lot of training. So anytime you go to the hospital, hey, Dr. Annmarie was probably the one that trained your nurse. So we're excited to have you here, Dr. Annmarie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Maria. It is such a pleasure to be here. I've heard so much about your podcast, so I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'd love to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we're going to talk about what led you to this latest endeavor in your coaching practice and your wellness practice. So let's talk about it.
So I started out as a nurse. Well, my story even goes beyond that because was I was in an arranged marriage when I was 16. I'll start out by just telling you that because that's how my story starts. And I believe that I would not be where I am today if I did not give my story, to tell you where I started. So that's where I started. And I start with it because I am truly amazed that I am who I am today based on where I started. So I started out as an arranged marriage at 16. And
Wow, that in itself is like I thought that those days were gone, but clearly not.
no, so my grandmother's from India, and that's what they do. They do arranged marriages. And my father died when I was 12. And my mother had 3 girls and 1 boy. And so my grandmother and my mother, they thought that for the best thing that they could do for us as girls was that we should have arranged marriages because we needed to be taken care of. And
Mm.
so I was married at 16 years old, was not of my choice. I look back at and I was like, okay, that's not somebody I would have even picked to get married to. But you go along with your parents because they know what's best for you. And so that happened. It was not a very happy marriage. Um, it was a very controlling marriage, I would say. And I managed to I got the courage to leave that marriage after a few years. I have 2 children from that marriage, and I was able to leave the marriage. I must say that
That was not easy, was it?
it was not an easy no. I actually met a therapist that I believe she's no longer here, but she's one of my guardian angels because she's the
Mm-hmm.
one that gave me the courage to leave. I mean, my story is so deep and I can't get into it at this point, but I had such low self-esteem that I didn't have the thoughts or to think about, well, I could leave, That was not part of my, vocabulary inside my head or my thoughts. And she really made me see life in a different way. And we formulated a plan, and I was able to leave. And I went back to
Uh,
school after
did you take your, I'm sorry, did you take the children with you?
my I couldn't take them with me at the beginning because the marriage had turned into one of abuse. And so we there was just some concern that if he knew I was leaving, that it would escalate. And so I had to leave without them. It was very, very, very difficult for me to do that. But, somehow she just felt that it wasn't going to be that way. She said, I want you need to leave, but I don't believe that you're going to be without your kids. And she's a religious person. And
Mhm.
so I I believed her, and she was absolutely right, because within a year of me leaving, he sent the kids to live with me because they weren't getting, without their mother, it was
Mhm.
hard. It was hard on them. And so I ended up having my children, after
Beautiful.
a short time. So that was a victorious time for
Oh,
me. And I went back to school because, believe it or not, that wasn't my life. When I was married off at 16, that's not how I envisioned myself. I
mhm.
saw myself going to college. I saw myself, you know, making finding my purpose and having a happy life. And so the first thing I did was I went back to college. I went to because I graduated high school very young, and went back and started on my nursing degree. And I when you've come from an unhappy situation, you're always trying to find that place where you are truly happy, because you may get to a point in your life and you feel like you're happy, but you doubt it. You think, well, maybe because happiness, if you've had happiness that's fleeting, and which is what my life had been, then every time I felt happy, I thought that it was not lasting. It was not, and so the thing that I did was I was looking for happiness on the outside. I did not know that happiness comes from the inside. And
Right. It comes
so
from within.
it's come in, right. And so what I started doing was I just believed that when I graduated from nursing school, I was so happy. It was a blissful time. I tell you, you know that song One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston?
Yes.
That was my song. I sang that song at my graduation because I felt this was my moment. Look where I had come from, and here I am now graduating as a nurse. I had my future was just bright, and I had so much ahead of me. And
Beautiful.
after a while, I was happy. I would caring for people, being at the bedside and educating and just being in people's personal space, because that's what nursing is all about. It's you have to be able to get into people's space in a way that's humble and allows them to heal, because you're there for them. And I was all caught up with that, and it was just it's like I was meant to do that. And but after a few years, I said, I I'm still not as happy as I would love to be. And
Now,
so
here you had a successful career.
yeah.
The kids were with you, uh, and you're just like, I've done what I said I wanted to do, but
Mhm.
there's some things
There's something
not,
missing.
there's something missing.
Yes.
And so tell me what happened.
So, I looked back at when I graduated from nursing school, and I felt how happy I was. And I said, that's it. If I can climb to the top of my ladder as a nurse, I bet I will find the happiness I'm looking for.
Mm.
And that's exactly what I did. Over the next few years, I just went from one degree to another degree with that search to find the happy spot for myself, to find my everlasting happiness. And I must tell you that when I graduated from with my PhD in nursing, I was super thrilled. I mean, it was, I must share with you that also the reason why this my education was gave me such joy. I am the first person to go to college in my family.
Got
So
it.
for me to climb to the top of that ladder and be the representative in my family was just exhilarating. It was just super. You just can't imagine the joy that that gives to you. And I also knew that I was setting an example for my kids.
Absolutely.
You know, I was,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
yeah. And so, that happened, and I said, okay, still not happy.
Still not
Still
happy.
not, still
It's
not
still
happy.
not happy. It's like this:
Yeah.
when I make more money, I'll be happy. When
Yes.
I get the next promotion, I'll be happy. When I get my degree, I'll be happy. When.
When. Yes.
Exactly. When.
Yeah.
And so you had to go on a whole nother journey
A
of
whole nother journey.
understanding.
Yes, yes. I still, I guess somewhere it had not clicked yet that happiness is not something you seek on the outside. And so even after climbing all the way up to the top of that ladder, I still said, well, it's the job. Maybe it's this job. I just don't like what I'm doing, and that's why I'm not happy. And so I started interviewing for a new job. And I remember when I got the job, and as I was going to start, that week that I was starting the job, I had this moment, and this little voice inside my head said, so you really think when you get this job that you're going to be happy?
Mm,
And that was like a light bulb moment for me because this voice just popped in my head, and I had to think about it, and I said, you know, what am I chasing? What is it that I'm going after? And why do I think that getting a new job is I mean, I've come so far. And so I started to, that's when my personal development journey started. I realized that I was looking for things on the outside to feel fulfilled on the inside, and
got it.
I
Hmm.
started a different journey. I realized that all the education I had and all the jobs that I had, all the certificates, that wasn't doing it, and so I
Hmm.
started searching on the inside what it is that Annmarie needs to really feel truly happy. And
Now,
that's
if
when
I
my
may,
personal,
how many people do you know are in the same position? I mean, have you ever, any of you out there, have you ever felt this way? It's like, why am I not happy? What's going to make me happy? And so you recognized that it wasn't something external. It wasn't money in the bank, the nice car, the nice house. It wasn't that. There was more to yourself. And you had to go in and work on unpacking, or if you say peeling back the onion and the layers of your life.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
good. Tell us about that.
And so that that so happened that time happened around COVID, right when I made that realization, it was just before COVID.
Hmm.
And and then COVID came. I had already started on this journey to, look on the inside. And then COVID came and shut us down. And we had to, you know, isolate and all this time, even though I was talking to hundreds of students on stages, giving presentations, talking to people everywhere, I always thought I was an introvert. Really, I thought I was an introvert, because even though
Mhm.
I figured that I do this just because it's my job, but really I love my alone time. And then COVID came, and I realized I was not an introvert. I definitely did not like my alone time that much.
I think, Annmarie, I think at some point in time, we all felt that way
Yes.
because we were so isolated. But now I have to ask, you were a nurse and you're one of those critical care workers. Were you working on the front lines?
No, this was my new job. That's just when I started as a teaching nursing.
Oh,
I've been
teaching.
teaching
Okay, you
for
were
a
a
long,
nursing professor. Okay, got
yes.
it. Okay.
And so
So
we
you
had
they didn't call you back to work, huh?
no, I could have gone back, but I actually, we had a place in North Carolina, and I went there. That was my isolation place, because it was in the mountains, and it was just I never had to stay inside. I could go out for hikes, and so it was beautiful. And after so many hikes by myself, and sitting in front of a computer, and not being able to see people face to face, I just said, okay, no, this is not how I want to live my life. And
Hmm.
and so I actually decided then that I recognized that I was a little burnt out with my nursing career. I had taken it so deeply. I mean, it represented it was a part of me. It was who I
Hmm.
am. It's 30 years I've been a nurse, and so it I felt that I needed to, after COVID, to transition into something else. And so during that time, I started looking into other areas that I could, uh, not be so responsible as a nurse practitioner. I wanted an easier road where I still felt like I was giving back, but not having to do it at the level I was doing it before. And by the way, before COVID, I also had started a Girlfriend's Health, because I founded Girlfriend's Health, and I also did Girlfriend's Guild, which is a nonprofit part of Girlfriend's Health. Because what I found was that the women who I served, the ones who really needed the education that I was providing to the community and the courses, that they couldn't afford it. Insurance doesn't pay for prevention; they only pay
Hmm.
if you're sick. And so I created the nonprofit so that I could offer the services to these women who could not afford this. And so everything at this point with COVID, everything had shut down. And I found health coaching. I
Hmm.
stumbled onto health coaching, and it had been something that was not so well known at the time, but I just felt that it was a right fit for me. And so
Hmm.
I signed up for the certification course, and that's what I did over COVID. And once we got out of that, I reinvented or recreated Girlfriend's Health to be a coaching practice. And so that,
Beautiful.
yeah, so that's,
Yeah, so you founded Girlfriend's Health, which is
mhm,
about a woman's health and well-being, and on top of that, you founded the Girlfriends Guild, which is a nonprofit to help those that are underserved and working on prevention. Because
yeah,
at the end of the day, I mean, I know that too. I've had so many health scares myself that prevention is the key, right? Prevention,
absolutely.
it really, if we can. Now, I know that there were some things that happened in your life that even that just hit you so hard that you even put more pressure on yourself to do this because you knew you had a need to give back and to help those. So tell us about that situation with your sister.
Yes. So it starts before my sister. I think I mentioned earlier that my father died. He was 43 years old, died of a
Oh,
massive
so
heart
young.
attack. Yes, and a stroke. And I was 12, and I realized that it had to do with something about his lifestyle. He wasn't a smoker, he wasn't a drinker, he wasn't overweight. And for him to die that young, it had to be genetic. And
Mm,
So I decided at that age that I would not, because I had a my we because my father died so young, they brought in therapists in the school to help us, the kids, to get over it. So I met with this therapist very often, and I asked her, how is it, can I prevent that from happening? Because she's the one that told me it's genetic. Your dad was not, his lifestyle was not that bad, and it's a genetic thing. And so I said, well, that does, mean that I'm the same thing is going to happen to me. And she said, but you can prevent it. That was the first time I heard that. And she said, and I said, how? And she said, you just got to make sure that, you're eating proper, a balanced diet, and you work out. And she did the whole holistic thing. And I want to think that that's probably what got me interested in becoming a nurse, because I went out, my whole life. I became a vegetarian, first of all, because I did some little research and found out that people who eat meat are more likely to have cardiac disease. And I started working. I joined the gymnastics at my school, and I was just very active. And I decided that that would not be my path. That's not the path I'm going. I'm going to take a different path.
Hmm.
And I say that because 5 years ago, my sister died. Same, she had heart disease. She was 55 years old.
No, that's
And
relatively young. That's young, young, young.
yes, and I can tell you, I know, as Oprah says, what I know for sure is that my lifestyle has changed, has saved my life. I learned the lesson from my dad, and none of my siblings, I have two sisters and one brother. They never made a change in their lifestyle. They lived the same life, and all of them have heart disease.
Oh,
I'm the
oh.
only one who has I'm a healthy as a horse, as they say.
Healthy as a horse. Yes, you are.
And so that is what gave me the impetus to live the type of life that I live. And so I realized that I have lived a life of prevention. That's been my whole life. And because of that, it also opened up a lot of intuitive thinking.
Mhm.
And that's what made me go into nursing, because I wanted to help others. And I wasn't even thinking of, I want to teach people what I did for myself, because I didn't see how I'm living as anything, you know, I was just me, right? And then when I became a nurse, I realized that the lifestyle that you live really contributes to all the illnesses that people are having. That's when I was able to put the two together, and I said, oh, so that's why I am the way I am, because I chose a different path.
Oh, I
And
love when you just said that. What you just said is one of my favorite words, choice.
hmm
You chose a different path. You
yes,
made, and that is, everyone has a choice, right?
yes,
And I mean, I know I've made some bad choices in my life, and I still do when I sit down at the kitchen table. But it's about choice. What's really fascinating though, Annmarie, is when we know and we decide, because it is about a decision, when we decide, and you made a decision, I am going to change by choice my lifestyle. And what you did just changed your entire lifestyle, your life.
it it did.
And so you're healthy, and you've had some tremendous losses and some tremendous lessons over the years, with your family. And what you've learned is prevention is the key to living a healthy lifestyle. Is that a
Absolutely.
correct statement? Yeah,
Yes, that is
prevention.
absolutely correct.
Prevention and awareness. And once we're aware, we can make those changes and make those choices. But I love choice. That's a great, great word.
It is.
So now you took all of your years of medical training, all your years of nursing, and all your years of teaching. And I know you're still practicing as a nursing professor and still teaching, but you've taken all of that knowledge and brought it into your girlfriend's health program
Yes.
and your girlfriend's coaching program, life coaching program. So if we were to ask you, not if we were, I'm going to ask you, what 3 tips would you give someone that was struggling with their health right now?
I would say one of the first tips I would say is to start from a place of gratitude. You can't, I've found that you can't, if you keep wanting something, you first have to be appreciative of what you have. And so what I teach most of my clients, all of my clients actually, is if you can start the day with 3 things that you're grateful for and
Mm-hmm.
end it with 3 things that you're grateful for, you will see that it makes such a difference in your life, such a difference. And the second thing I would say is that everything you do, you need to come from a place of love, because love truly is the answer. And when we love unconditionally, it makes our it makes it so much easier for us to live. If you're living with everything that you're doing, you're examining, you're putting it out there and saying, is that a loving space to go from? Is that
Mm-hmm.
is that what I really want? It's just examining what you do and how you do it, and ask yourself, first of all, is that something I would like to be done to me? Because you're really loving is doing unto others as you would have be done to you. And so that's the second thing. And I think the third would be not believe in your mind, not believe in everything your mind tells you, because we tend to have a lot of negative feedback in,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's just from the things we were told as a child.
Absolutely. Oh, it's
And
so true.
yeah, and so if you can just every now and again examine your thoughts and ask yourself if that's really true, you would be doing yourself a great favor, because I always say, don't always believe what your mind tells you. And then once
Yeah.
and once you do that, I think you can then start working on changing those negative patterns that you have, because it holds us back, believe it or not. It holds us back from a lot of things.
Oh, I am. Well, we're all in the same space. So we all have the same thoughts. We all have the same mindset, which is a very positive growth mindset.
Yes.
And I have always said the brain only knows what you tell it.
Yes.
It only knows what you tell it. And the brain's job is survival,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you get into something fearful. You just got to make fear your friend. You just tell the brain something different and it will respond.
Of course.
So because I have this thought that goes on in my mind. Your programming, as we said from our childhood, your programming equals your thoughts, and your thoughts control your actions, and your actions control your results.
Yes.
So, and it controls your feeling and your actions and so it's always like your thoughts, everything you think about is either going to hamper you or help you.
Mm-hmm.
So be
So
careful
true.
what you put in your mind, because one of the podcasts I did was on the automatic negative thought syndrome, which is the ants. It's like a water. If you come from a negative space all the time, you're just gonna create negative
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And everything in life is energy. It's either positive energy or negative
A
energy.
negative
And
energy.
I choose, and you choose, I know that, Positive energy.
positive energy all the time. Yes.
All the time. I know,
Yes.
I know that. And it just permeates around us people because we're all crazy, you know?
Yeah,
We're
we are.
loving life. We're loving life. We're living our best lives.
Yes,
So you
we
gave
are.
us gratitude. Everything comes from love, unconditional love, and not believing everything your mind tells you. You can flip that switch. We can flip it.
Yes.
And it, you've had your challenges in life. I've had my challenges. Everyone we know overcome so much to get to where they are. And the
Mhm.
beautiful thing about people like us is we know there's more. There's always going to be more.
Yeah. Yes.
It's an evolving process. So if you've learned a lot of lessons, give us one or two really good lessons that you've learned that you want us to know about.
Well, the one that's significant to me is that it doesn't matter where you start in life. You can always aim for the next best thing that you want.
Hmm.
So don't let I mean, that's my story because
Hmm.
when I think of where I could have been had I, you know, not had the courage to take my life in my own control or absolutely given it over back to the universe, because I do believe that, the energy that we put out is what we get back.
Correct.
And so I would say is just it doesn't matter where you are, you can start over. You can, you can aim for your whatever it is that you want to do. Don't let anything keep you back from doing it, because if you can think it, it can happen.
Exactly. What you think about comes about, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
love that. And you're a shining example of that. And I appreciate your wisdom and the years. Now, you're in the health space, health and wellness space, right? You're doing
Mhm.
health coaching and life coaching. And just from your opinion, how do you see the industry evolving, and what trends do you find really exciting?
I am really excited about health coaching and life coaching as it's evolving, because when you think about it, years ago, nobody when you if you had said I want to be a health coach, nobody would even know what that is. And it's now
Right.
so widely recognized, and
Hmm.
I am excited for it, because what that means to me is that that is my niche. Prevention is my niche, and I believe that health coaching is a form of prevention. It's just a whole
Hmm.
big package of prevention. And because it's not just one area, it's a holistic way of looking at your
Hmm.
somebody's life. And you're not going in and telling somebody the life that they should live. What you're doing as a health coach is you have the person tell you what their goals are, and you facilitate the journey that they need to take. And sometimes people just need to have to be held accountable, to know that somebody believes in them, that somebody's going to listen to their voice and help them to get to that next step. And all we need sometimes is that helping hand to get to that next step. And that's where I see health coaching as, and it's gotten so wide that there's so many different areas that one can be a health coach. You can work on whatever it is that, somebody's going through a trauma. There's a health coach who can help you with that. Somebody's going through, like, my specialty is working with women who have the um, predisposition for heart disease, because that's my
Hmm.
story. I
Right.
have that, and I don't. So you can prevent it. So it's so wide, and I would encourage anybody to look into working with a coach, because I myself have a coach that I work with, because it wouldn't make any sense for me to be a health coach and yet I don't believe in it. So I truly, truly believe that it's the future. It's the future
Hmm.
of prevention. And that's why I'm excited about it, because that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And it's so true. And we're hearing it more and more in prevention. I mean, even that hospitals and the doctors are all about prevention, right?
Yeah.
And which is good, which is a good thing. And we wouldn't have as many health issues had we been aware of all this stuff. And I think there's just much more of awareness. Now, if somebody wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to get you to reach out to you?
So um I'm getting into social media. I it wasn't one of my biggest things that I did, but it's today's day, you have to be into it. But so I am on Facebook, and if you
Okay.
look me up for Annmarie Waite or Dr. Annmarie Waite, I'm also have a website. It's girlfriendshealth.com.
Girlfriendshealth.com, you folks.
.com,
Now listen to that.
.com.
Girlfriendshealth.com.
And
Perfect.
I would, if you are interested in having a discovery call, is what I call it, or if you wanted,
Hmm.
if you're just trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, what area should I be working on, I do a clarity call, so we can,
Hmm.
see, kind of narrow it down for you, and give you an idea of the direction that you should be walking in to get to that place where you want to be. So, and that's on my website as well. You can book a clarity call or a discovery call on my website.
Okay, perfect. That's girlfriendshealth.com, right?
Mhm. Yes.
I know, I saw it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Good. Now, I always like to, appreciate your insight and your wisdom that you have garnered over the years. But I always like to finish with just a light question. Um, and it's like, this is my thing. It's like, hey, if a genie came down, landed on your shoulder, said, Dr. Anne Marie, you have three wishes. What would those be?
I would say that that my life continues to be a radiant, happy, fulfilling life. And that my second wish is that I always, always come from a place of love in everything I do, and that I am loved, I am lovable, and I am loving.
Beautiful. Okay. And what's your third little
And
wish there,
my
young lady?
third wish would be my life makes an impact on others, that it inspires women to find their unique voice and to shine their light in the world.
Beautiful. That's great. That's beautiful. Like I said, your knowledge, your expertise, your just medical background, everything is just making such a contribution. And I know you're making a significant contribution to the underserved as well. And I really appreciate that because, we have more in common than you probably, we probably even imagined.
Yes.
So I love it. And I love what you're doing. And so I want to thank you, thank you, thank you for coming onto the show today. And for my friends out there that are listening, hey, if you need some help with your wellness prevention, reach out to Dr. Anne Marie, and she would be more than happy to have that clarity call with you because we all need someone cheering us on.
Absolutely.
And as you know, it's important to share our messages out to the world. So why don't you go ahead now, hit the share button, share it with one or two of your friends that need to hear this message and that would have someone in their court guiding them. So go ahead, hit the share button now and share it with a friend or two. I will speak with all of you next week. And remember, my friends, to always stay focused, stay positive, have fun, and no matter what you choose to be, do, or have, make sure you do it passionately. Thanks for listening in. Thank you again, Dr. Anne Marie,
Thank you
and we will
so
see you.
much.
All right, we'll see you all next time on Motivational Moments with Maria.